So yesterday we have covered till the OSA layer, OSA concepts and ports. So yeah, as I said, like these are something like you have to get memorized, and this is the most important questions they might be asking, like randomly. Most of the time they will be asking, like what is the port number for the SMTP and HTTP and HTTPS. So HTTP is 80 and HTTPS is 443 and SMTP is 25. So this port number 25 is basically a port where it enables, like emailing, simple mail transfer protocol. Yeah, sometimes Kerberos, almost all are important, so just have a note of all this port numbers. And see, there is a scanning activity which could be performed by like internal employees, or probably we will be having a team of uh, vulnerability assessment team. So the idea is they wanted to check, are there any vulnerabilities which are there in the system, or probably if you're into a product based company, so they will check, are there any vulnerabilities. See, basically the vulnerability is nothing but a weakness. So if there is any product which has been defined or like created, or maybe a process, so in that process if there are any weakness or weak points, probably that is the entry point for an attacker, where he could able to get the access. So to avoid that, on a regular basis, like maybe some organizations will follow like 30 days kind of like cycle, or maybe like 90 days or 45 days. So they try to do these scanning activities just to find out if there are any vulnerabilities or weak points in the process, or maybe in the product. So those scannings are uh, having two types. The one is the horizontal scan, another one is vertical scan. Since you understood that the defined ports are meant for certain processes, right? So here they wanted to check whether these ports are enabled. Enabled in the sense, like they have an option of, like getting associated with certain task. And if the tasks are not performed on a regular activity, on a regular basis, then those ports need to be disabled. That means, though they are meant for certain task, like if you look at this RDP. RDP is something like remote desktop. Now if you wanted to connect to any remote desktop, this is the port which enables that services. Now if you don't have a service, I mean, if you don't have anything related to connecting to the RDP, that means a user doesn't need any RDP services. వాడికి అవసరం పడదు. But still, if this port is open, it is something like the open port can have a vulnerability, and that could give an entry to the attacker. So if the services are, if you're not using that services, you need to disable it. So to find out which services or which port numbers are in active state, which are in active state, so to find out that, probably this scanning process could help us. So if the horizontal scanning says that uh, the scanning against a group of IPs for a single port, that means we have a different host in a network. For example, like uh, we have a machine, or like laptop or a desktop, and we are trying to scan among all these device one, which is having like the one, that is the IP address 12 D3 device 3 1.2.4.13 or device 4 1.2.4.14 device 5 1.2.4.15. So for this particular machines, the scanning is done for the port number 25 ante SMTP. So they wanted to identify this particular port is enabled or disabled for all these machines. మేబీ ఒకదానికి ఎస్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఒకదానికి ఎస్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఒకదానికి నో ఉండొచ్చు, ఒకదానికి ఎస్ ఉండొచ్చు. So they wanted to scan this particular port number among all this IP addresses or host. That is called as horizontal scan. And the other one is vice versa. It is vice versa. So this says a vertical scan is described as a single IP being scanned for a multiple ports. So we might have a single machine which contains of 1012 10023. I mean, there are thousands of ports which are available in the laptop or desktop. So to find out for one device are ports enable or not. So single device multiple port scanning is nothing but vertical scan, right? Hope you are clear.
Yeah,
So
understood.
yeah, so basically this is something like, in a layman terms, like, for example, we have a provision for, in the kitchen we have a provision to plug in for the refrigerator. We have a socket, so that is used for three pin socket is used. And probably if it is an oven, 15 amps socket, or maybe if it is a AC. So each electronic product or device has got certain criteria. So it has to be enabled with a particular voltage or maybe amps to define that or to run that. So likewise, each services in the networking side has got different ports which enables the services. Now if you are not using certain services, you can actually turn it off, right? So in this case also the same. If the services are enabled or functioning on a regular basis, you can keep it open, or if it is not, then you can disable for a time being. Got it? So that's about the horizontal scan and vertical scan. So moving on to, like, I just wanted to cover some of the flags, TCP flags. Now in the OSI layer, particularly to the transport layer. Now the transport layer is something like, it it defines the best route to send or like receive the data. So if it is like, some broadcasting activities done, like, probably if you have watched the match yesterday, so right now we are using the smartphones to see match, so Hotstar or any of the application. So basically the Hotstar has got the complete license to broadcast that match. So during the broadcast, it is something like, you are having a device at the endpoint, and you can open the application and you can see. So here the Hotstar is trying to, depending on the services, it is choosing the best way to transport. Now, all the broadcasting activities generally choose UDP because it is faster and it has bandwidth, more bandwidth. And if it is like data which has got something related to the emails, particularly emails or something related to the messaging, here you don't want to miss out any of the data packet. So whatever you have drafted, you wanted to send it to the end receiver without error free. So it will define, I mean, for which services what to opt. Now TCP has got a distinct characteristics, and UDP has got distinct characteristics. That has got some additional plus points. This has got some additional plus points. That has some negative. This has not some negative. So we have that description. If you look at this difference between TCP and UDP. So whenever the data is sent with the help of the packet to end device or end user, so in TCP, that means transmission control protocol, it is a connection oriented, and segment sequencing takes place. Acknowledge the segments. That means whatever the packets has been received by the end user, it will acknowledge, okay, if the packet consists of like 10 units, then the recipient, once it is received, it will acknowledge that I have received 10 units. So it has got the acknowledge the segments, and it is slow because it is giving defined and errorless transmission of the data. And the segment retransmits in just in case if there are certain packets which has not been received by the end user, it will retransmit. So very best example for these are HTTP and SMTP. SMTP is something like email, right? Email protocol. So if there is anything related to the if you wanted to do some login activities, or this could be used, HTTP could be used, and if it is related to the email, SMTP could be used. And in the UDP, user datagram protocol, it is connectionless. That means if the broadcaster is broadcasting something, it depends. I mean, whoever are connected, they receive the that telecast, and they will operate or they will use. So it doesn't require any confined connections. So those are like connectionless. They don't have a sequence, like it will just broadcast the packets. Whoever receiving at that moment, they will get it, and they cannot actually come back, go back and retrieve the data packets once they are missed out. And that doesn't have any acknowledgement, but here we have an acknowledgement. It is fast, and it doesn't confirm any retransmission. So if you look at the example, live audio or video streaming, or maybe probably like the Skype calls. Right now what we are doing is the like Google Meet, or maybe like Teams call. These are all like video streaming or live audio or live sessions which are doing on and online. So that will define, the transport layer will define which one to adopt based on the services. It will choose whether to take TCP or take UDP. Okay, and here these are like a few of the TCP flags. That means whenever the transmission of the data is happening, they have some shortcut terminologies. If you see, we have a ACK command, which indicates that the acknowledgement field is significant. That means ACK is nothing but an acknowledgement. PSH, it's nothing but a push function. If something is did not worked out, then it will resend, or nothing but repush. And the other one is RST. RST refers to the reset the connection seen on the rejected connections. So SYN command significance is synchronized sequence number, and FIN, no more data from sender. So typically we have to establish a connection for any of the end user. Probably we call it as if you wanted to connect to any of the server. For example, you wanted to browse a website. So what you will do, you will go to the browser. Now in our case we are using the Microsoft Edge is a browser, and I'm trying to log into a banking application, probably an ICICI bank. So the moment I enter my uh, this URL, it is taking me to the ICICI website. So now this website has enabled me a connection. Now I am good to go or log in to this website with by giving my credentials, right? So if you look at this 1 2 3 task, what I did, I went to the browser and I have given the website and I have entered, and it has given me the connection. Basically we are trying to establish a connection with this website, and it happened like fraction of seconds, right? But in general, the backend process, how it happens is, you being client, that means I'm a user, I'm trying to get connected to this website, www.icicibank.com. So indirectly you are trying to establish a connection with a server, and you wanted to exchange the information. Now it is nothing but you wanted to see your bank statement, or something. Basically the exchange of the communication is happening with the this website, indirectly a server. So I am being a client and ICICI Bank being a server. So the TCP three-way handshake consists of how the connection will start is what we will understand, because this three-way handshake is very important method, or thing which we need to understand, because this will helps us to carry out all the containment activities in the real time, or when you're doing a SOC operations. So whenever there is a suspicious activity and some malicious activity is being carried out, and if you don't identify and take a proper measurements to remediate, then the exploitation, or the damage could increase a lot. So you have to stop that. So in order to stop that, it's nothing but whenever the attacker tries to communicate, or have a complete command and control over a certain machine or a server, the first thing what you have to do is you need to break that connection with attacker. So the breaking of the connection is nothing but you have to stop the three-way handshake, right? So how the establishment of the connection take place is, as a client, as a user, I'm sending a SYN command to the server, that is I am ready to have a synchronization with you. If the server is not busy, or probably it is okay to have a connection, so it will send a SYN-ACK command. That means I am ready to sync with you. Then again the client gives a confirmation that okay, acknowledge. Then the fin is something the connection has been established, and no more request, no more data from the sender. So that's how the three-way handshake will come. uh, uh, Three-way handshake will happen. So the client will be sending a SYN command, and server will be responding back with SYN-ACK command, and then client will be sending a ACK command. Okay, the synchronization is done, and I have acknowledged. So once the communication has been taken care, if you have used the services and you wanted to disable, so that means in other way you are giving a acknowledgement called fin, that is no more connection which you wanted to, or have a exchange of the data. So that's how the three-way handshake ends. Understood? Any doubt in terms of understanding this three-way handshake? Because this is very important topic when it comes to attacks which are followed on the transport layer, especially injection attempts, DDoS attempts, or DOS attempts, cross scripting attempts. So for all these attacks, you need to have the complete process of this. So how the synchronization is happening, how the connection is orienting, and how the disabling should be done, and where to be done. So to have a broader understanding, this is the first step of understanding the three-way handshake. Got it? Any doubts in terms of understanding three-way handshake? So now we have done with the horizontal scanning and vertical scanning, and knowing some of the terminologies related to the TCP flag and TCP three-way handshake, and basically TCP, uh, how it is different from the UDP, and what are the characteristics of the TCP and what are the characteristics of the UDP, what is the example in TCP what we will be using, and what is the example we use in the UDP, are pretty much clear, I hope, so that we can move on to the next topic, which is little bigger, or the wider topic in terms of understanding the network architecture. Shall I proceed?
Yeah, Vishal.
Yes,
Yeah,
Vishal.
sure. So as a SOC, you need to realize where is your place in this network architecture based on your understanding so far what we have done. Just give me a wide guess. Where do you work? I mean, what at what level or what function you do? ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి కదా, ఐఎస్పి ఉంది, రౌటర్ ఉంది, ఫైర్ వాల్ ఉంది, ఈఎస్ఏ ఉంది, వ్యాఫ్ ఉంది, ఐపీఎస్ ఉంది, డిఎల్పి ఉంది. ఇక్కడ చూస్తేనేమో ఏడి, డిఎన్ఎస్, డిహెచ్సిపి, డిబి, ప్రాక్సీ, ఏవి, ఎస్ఐఎం, అప్లికేషన్, ఫైల్ సర్వర్, ఎక్స్చేంజ్ సర్వర్. సో సాక్ అనలిస్ట్ పని ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది అండ్ దేంతో అసోసియేట్ అవుతుంది? జస్ట్ గివ్ మీ అ వైల్డ్ గెస్.
SIEM.
రైట్, ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ. Now you are here, so your work is mostly working with very closely with SIM. So you need to have this complete picture in your mind. Whenever you see this, నా రోల్ ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది అంటే ఎస్ఐఎంతో ఉంటుంది. You will be working very closely with SIM, very closely with SIM. That doesn't mean that this will not come into the picture. This all will be coming into the picture, but SIM is the one of the platform which is giving a end services by interacting, or like getting the logs from all these points. అంటే నీకు లాగ్స్ ఐఎస్పి నుంచి రావచ్చు, రౌటర్ నుంచి రావచ్చు, ఫైర్ వాల్ నుంచి రావచ్చు, వ్యాఫ్ నుంచి రావచ్చు, ఐ ఐపీఎస్ నుంచి రావచ్చు, డిఎల్పి నుంచి రావచ్చు, ఆర్ ఏడి, డిఎన్ఎస్, డిహెచ్సిపి. సో ఇవన్నీ కూడా దే ఆర్ అలైన్డ్ విత్ వన్ అండ్ ది అదర్. ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ ఎట్ దిస్ డయాగ్రామ్, everything is interlinked. So to achieve the cybersecurity goals, this is the network architecture that you should feed in your brain. ఓకే, సో ఇంతకుముందు అనుకున్నట్టు మనకు ఒకవేళ ఎక్కడైనా సమ్ ఫైర్ వాల్ రిలేటెడ్ అటాక్స్ వచ్చినాయి. సో ఫైర్ వాల్లో ఏదైనా సస్పిషియస్ ట్రాఫిక్ డిటెక్ట్ అయింది. సో విచ్ వన్ విల్ give us the notification or the alarm? SIM tool is the one which will give the notification or the alarm to look into it and to stop something is happening very bad. So we as a SOC analyst will respond to those alarms, and from here SIM, you will be taking the logs from the firewall and check what is that suspicious activity which is being identified at the firewall, And was there any internal communication which has been established with the external website, or maybe um, a device, or maybe like a remote desktop? And what was the purpose? What is the time the establishment happened? And what was the data packets which has been received or collected? And if you define that the activity is carried out a suspicious or malicious activity, then you need to break that communication, or like the establishment with that end user, or probably end services, or end server, mitigate it. So you need to break this three-way handshake. In other way, అది ఎట్లా చేస్తాం? ఇప్పుడు మనకు యాక్టివిటీ ఫైర్ వాల్లో అవుతుంది కాబట్టి ఫైర్ వాల్లో we need to do the containment activity, because it is been identified at the firewall. Now firewall is the only one thing which could able to stop that. So we need to enable certain task to stop that activity or break that three-way handshake. So firewall ఏం చేస్తామంటే we will add up a IP address which has been identified as suspicious, and we will add to a block list. Block list అనేది ఒక రిజిస్ట్రీ ఉంటుంది. అందులో మనము ఆ ఐపీస్ని సెండ్ చేసి we will upload in the firewall, so that the three-way handshake, that means the blocking will be initiated, and from that point of time there will not be any to and fro communication which will be happening from that server to the user. Got it? So in other case, like there is a virus which has been detected. So మనకి ఇప్పుడు యాంటీవైరస్ ఉంది ఈ సర్వర్లో. ఈ యాంటీవైరస్ డిటెక్ట్ అయినప్పుడు SIM tool will alert us. Okay, there that will give an alarm. Okay, we have an malware which has been identified, or probably a virus which has been identified at the XYZ system or the user machine lo manaki idi detect ayindi. SIM will alert us. So as a SOC analyst, you will acknowledge those alert or alarm, and look for the antivirus logs. అంటే ఎందుకంటే మనకి యాంటీవైరస్ దగ్గరనే డిటెక్ట్ అయింది కాబట్టి we will check the antivirus logs for that particular user machine and find the root cause. ఎటు నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అయింది అది? ఒక యూజర్ ఏదైనా వెబ్సైట్ నుంచి ఏమైనా సస్పిషియస్ ఫైల్ ఏమైనా డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకున్నాడా, ఆర్ లేకపోతే ఆ మషిన్కి ఏదైనా ఎక్స్టర్నల్ డివైస్ యూఎస్బి కానీ లేకపోతే హార్డ్ డ్రైవ్ కానీ ఏదైనా ఎనేబుల్ అయిందా, అక్కడ నుంచి వైరస్ స్ప్రెడ్ అయిందా? If it is found, then you need to find at what time it has been connected, and what is the malicious or suspicious file which has been installed, and what is the characteristic of that particular malware. And if that was been traveling from one machine to another machine, you need to identify that flow. And then if it is identified, then you need to take a containment process. Containment process is something like you need to stop. So stopping etla chestam? Then once we identify that 3 or 4 machines has been affected with certain malware, then you will be run an antivirus scan and try to remove those malicious or suspicious files, and ensure you remediate the process as per the IR. So IR lo emaitadi, first is preparation, second is identification, third is containment, fourth is remediation. So you need to do that remediation activities and make sure those server or the machine has been recovered properly, and take the necessary lessons or the actions on the objectives from the experience which you had from that entire scenario. Got it? So you are being kind of like an analyst who is addressing all such kind of alarms or notification. So in a way, if you look at this diagram in the first page, this is what you are going to do. You are sitting at the certain screens, and you are monitoring the end devices as a SIM tool, or like with the help of SIM tool. Those alarms are being notified, and you are being assigned for that particular alert. And you look for, if you see, there are different screens. Now that is nothing but like, you are looking for a different possibilities of threat from where it has been originated, and that you will be documenting and find out the root cause with the help of SIM. అర్థమవుతుందా? What is our position? What is that we are going to do in the SOC operations?
Yeah, sir. Yeah,
Cool.
sir.
So in other way, like, this is the a entry level, or kind of like, a gate opening kind of a scenario for you to enter into the next level of అండర్స్టాండింగ్. అంటే ఇప్పటి వరకు మీకు ఏంటంటే ఒక ఓవర్ వ్యూ, వాట్ అసలు నెట్వర్క్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఏంటి, నెట్వర్క్ డివైజెస్ ఏంటి, ఏం చేస్తాం సాక్లా, అదని ఒక ఓవర్ వ్యూ వరకు తెలుసు. బట్ ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే, ఇఫ్ యూ ఐడెంటిఫైడ్ యువర్ పొజిషన్ యాజ్ ఏ సిమ్ అనలిస్ట్, దెన్ you need to understand AD, Active Directory, you need to understand DNS, you need to understand DHCP, you need to understand database, you need to understand proxy, you need to understand antivirus, you need to understand application, you need to understand file server, you need to understand exchange, you need to understand LAN, you need to understand switch. So that's all integrated. I mean, one to ఒక్కొక్క దానికి ఒక interlink ఉంది. So that's how you need to, you know dig more understanding on each devices which are there in the network architecture. So you have a knowledge of what is ISP, you have some understanding on what is a router, what is firewall, what is IPS, DLP, or maybe antivirus. So ఒకవేళ తెలుసు, ఓకే, తెలిస్తే ఓవర్వ్యూగా ఓకే. ఒకవేళ తెలియకపోతే now we are going to study more deeper in terms of their characteristics and their services, and in general and in real time ఒక ఫైర్ వాల్కి ఎటువంటి లైక్ మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్ ఉంటాడు, ఎటువంటి బ్రాండ్ ఉంటాడు. ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ ఎట్ ది SIM, వీ హ్యావ్ లైక్ ఆర్క్సైడ్, క్యూరడార్, మేబీ స్ప్లంక్ ఆర్ అజూర్ సెంటినల్. సో ఇదే విధంగా మనకు ఐపీఎస్కి కొన్ని బ్రాండ్స్ ఉంటాయి, సర్వీస్ ప్రొవైడర్స్ ఉంటారు, మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్స్ ఉంటారు, ఫైర్ వాల్కి కొన్ని మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్స్ ఉంటారు, ఫైర్ వాల్ రిలేటెడ్ అలర్ట్స్కి కొన్ని యూజ్ కేసెస్ ఉంటాయి. అట్లా మనకు ఒక్కొక్క సర్వీసెస్కి ఆర్ ఒక్కొక్క లైక్ ఎండ్ పాయింట్ ప్రొటెక్షన్కి మనకు కొన్ని బ్రాండ్స్ ఉంటాయి అండ్ యూజ్ కేసెస్ ఉంటాయి. సో వీ నీడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ దోస్ థింగ్స్ నౌ. సో ఇఫ్ యూ లుక్ ఎట్ ది ఫైర్ వాల్, it will give a complete understanding of the firewall. అసలు ఫైర్ వాల్ ఏం చేస్తుంది అండ్ ఎలా మనము డేటాని రెడీ చేస్తాము, దాని రిలేటెడ్ వెండర్స్ అంటే మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరర్స్ ఎవరెవరు ఉన్నారు. సిస్కో ఉంది, సిమాంటిక్ ఉంది, జెనిపర్ ఉంది, ఫార్టిగేట్ ఉన్నది. అండ్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అన్ ఐపీఎస్, అండ్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ ప్రాక్సీలో ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి, ఎటువంటి వెండర్స్ ఉన్నారు, ఫోర్స్ పాయింట్, F5 నెట్వర్క్, and if it is like WAF, who are the vendors, email security, atla each and everything we will dig down much deeper. And that's how like you could able to understand your సెల్ఫ్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్. ఈ పేజ్ 4 ఏదైతుంది కదా, ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇక్కడ పెట్టినాం, యాజ్ ఏ అనలిస్ట్ ఐఎమ్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ ఫర్ మానిటరింగ్ అండ్ ప్రొటెక్టింగ్ ది నెట్వర్క్స్ బై యూజింగ్ ది టూల్స్ లైక్ క్యూరడార్, ఆర్క్సైడ్, సిమ్టోల్. ఇక్కడ పాలో ఆల్టో ఆర్ సోర్స్ ఫైర్, ఐపీఎస్, వెబ్ ప్రాక్సీ, ఈమెయిల్ సెక్యూరిటీ. మనం అంటే వన్స్ వీ గెట్ ఇన్ టు ది డీపర్ ఇన్ టు దట్ network security or network architecture, then you will understand, okay, మనం చేసేది ఇది అన్నది మీకు అప్పుడు తెలుస్తుంది. సో now you give me a heads up, so that like what I'm trying to say is, anyways, I hope you have the material of this soc.pdf. Yes or no?
Yeah, Vishal.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. So this is little elaborated topic. So what I would suggest you is, you just go through this subtopics of this network architecture today. just an overview. Just try to brush up this topic, so that for tomorrow it will be easy for you to understand, because మనకు అన్ని కూడా టచ్ బేస్ చేయాలి, సో దట్ యూ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఏ బ్రాడర్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్. అచ్చా ఏం చేస్తుంది ఏడి, ఏం చేస్తుంది అప్లికేషన్ సర్వర్, ఏం చేస్తుంది ఫైల్ సర్వర్, ఏం చేస్తుంది డిఎన్ఎస్ ఏముంటుంది, డిహెచ్సిపి ఏం ఫంక్షన్ ఉంటుంది, యాంటీవైరస్ ఏం చేస్తుంది. సో ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్ యూ విల్ గెట్ టు నో. ఓకే, సో నేను ఇప్పుడు స్టార్ట్ చేయట్లేదు, ఎందుకంటే ఆ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తే ఇట్ విల్ గో అనదర్ 1 hour ఆఫ్ టైం. సో ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు డూ ఇట్. టుమారో we will have, with a fresh mind, we will cover the network architecture. Cool.